Dear patrons, good morning. In all my years of doing this, I have never met a more humble man than the one I am honored to introduce. As many of you know, I consider myself to be West Asian because the Middle East doesn't really exist outside of some media organizations. The mindset I've always had is to be invaluable to the people around you, work hard, and don't make anyone do something that you wouldn't do yourself. Our next company, Energy Focus, ticker EFOI, lost its focus a few years ago and has made a resurgence recently. By concentrating on the basics, the company has been able to narrow losses, improve margins, deliver growth, and set the stage for the next generation of lighting platforms. All these traits have been reflected positively in the stock this year, but the market cap is still tiny. LED lighting is big business, and Energy Focus wants a piece of the action. Joining us on the call today, it is my privilege to welcome the Executive Chairman and CEO of the company, Mr. James Tu. James, thank you for joining us this morning. I know that you guys have been busy turning this company around. The floor is now yours.
Thank you so much, Chris, for the truly the most brilliant introduction I ever heard.
Well, at least for market, listen, at least for micro cap. In small cap, the introductions will be better, and the guys who are introducing you will get more attractive. So
that's why I have to be continue to be humble, right? There's a micro cap, there's always small cap there, right? And then big cap, right?
I listen. I've been humble for 20 years, so
right. No, right.
But it is truly my pleasure. I mean, you guys are discussed at length in terms of Microcap Club, which is a prominent organization on the internet. Some of the top guys in the space have either written on you guys or owned the story. I feel that the size is only a part of it. You have definitely gotten people's mind share. So that's why out of the companies that are presenting this month, I felt that you were one of the dark horses where, the people that know you can get more insight in the story, and the people that are seeing you for the first time can get a better feel for what makes you guys special.
Thank you so much. I hope we don't remain dark for too long.
No, please.
No, just kidding. And to your point, Chris, this is a very exciting time for the industry and for the company. I have to say that for the industry overall, it's a pretty disregarded industry. I mean, you look at lighting. I mean, who care about lighting, right? The things that you do use lighting every day. And lighting is not a small technology. It might be a small industry. And over the past 10, 15 years, because the biggest lighting companies have literally either left the industry or got sold or got much smaller, it's a pretty messy market. And every day you wake up and you go to Home Depot, you go to Lowe's, and you get these lighting products, and you basically have only experience light. You don't experience anything else, right? What we are seeing here is an opportunity to what we call human-centric lighting, really start leveraging all these exponential technologies, which includes really electronics, hardware, software, cloud, sensor, to make lighting a very exciting technological system, right? Well, and that's really if anybody that wants to look at Energy Focus today, that's that you have to see the backdrop of the story. Why we are here working really hard to introduce human-centric lighting, the concept and the technologies associated with it. That is really the backdrop. We are truly in the beginning of what I call the third lighting revolution, right? The first one, obviously, we all know, Thomas Edison, 1880s, to about, 15 years ago, right? And 15 years ago, LED commercialization came along, so lighting turned from giving out light. And for 100 years, lighting has only one thing, one mission, which is giving out light. And that's important. That's very important. That truly changed the face of civilization, right? People can work longer hours, indoor. And that really, you look at, industrial output, lighting is a big contributor to that. But then it only gives out light. Then you got the past 10, 15 years that the lighting does the second thing, which is giving out more efficient light, right? I mean, LED really, it has less longer. It saves 50%, 60%, 70% of the energy over incandescent and fluorescent. but that's only one thing, right? You give out more, basically cheaper light in terms of being more sustainable. It does reduce energy consumption, reduce carbon emissions. That's all great. What we're looking at right now is by integrating all these technologies I talked about to make lighting a lot more powerful, a lot more human-centric. What that means is that it truly started to impact human performances. You've never done that, right? The first story is about light. The second story is about efficient light. The third story is about biologically beneficial light, right? That you're gonna impact the people's performance, and you can go from there and start making lighting system more connected to other parts of the building, which make lighting a unique technology foundation for building IoT. And that's kind of the roadmap we're looking at. And if you draw back to where we are today, a couple of months ago, we launched this in focus lighting control system where you can enable even existing buildings to provide lighting controls, right? We will be able to provide flicker-free, dimmable, and color tunable light that in many studies have shown dramatically increase human productivity and learning efficiency. You're talking about 20%, 30%. Think about a school that can improve learning by 20%. There's nothing even comes close, right? But this technology could really bring that, to, buildings, facilities. We are also launching a bunch of UV products, pretty soon. We said fourth quarter, and that will again, improve human safety and well-being, right? And how do you apply lighting through the technologies to make the impact on humans? That's the essence of human-centric lighting. Anyway, so that's a long introduction.
No, let me interject. I think that most humans today take lighting for granted because they expect it like running water. They expect it like electricity. They don't really understand the power until they lose it. Here in California, where we have, blackouts every now and then, when you can't use light, the only thing that you have is essentially a flashlight or a candle, and life is not as much fun. The other thing that I want to state, just from the outside looking in, is that the advantage to you guys is you have a public comp that has been a longtime LD Micro participant that has absolutely kicked Mondo butt over the last few years, and that is Orion.
Oh yeah.
So it's always nice to have a comp that's done well, that has gone from a 30-40 million market cap onto about a $250 million market cap today.
Yes.
And it showcases that value can ultimately be created in this business.
Sure.
But I wanted to touch on the first thing, and let's discuss all the elephants in the room. When it comes to people looking at your story, it's like LED lighting. That is the most commoditized product in history. You have, as you mentioned, the big players out of, China and Taiwan, and, it's a race to the bottom. So no one really actually, and I don't want to say no one, okay, that's a very strong word, but a lot of people don't believe that you guys have pricing power. And when you don't have pricing power on a product, you're at the mercy of the market, if you will. Sure. So I think a lot of people just look at this first thing and don't want to advance to the second or third base. Just like, well, in this case, Energy Focus is in this business, and thus, because of my misconception, there's no interest. So can you just kind of give us a feel for what the LED lighting business is today? Because I know it has to be massive.
Oh yeah.
I know that there's a high end, and then there's probably a low end that you and I can go to Home Depot and buy some lights for the garage. But it would be very helpful, at least to our audience, to kind of figure out where you guys play. Is it the Walmart contingency, or is it the highest end where we can basically customize anything based off brightness, based off aesthetic? Where do you guys play in this huge playground?
Yeah, that's Chris, you asked almost an ultimate question. All right, why does energy focus even exist?
Correct.
You know, why does the world need energy focus, right?
No, but listen, James, I'm trying to be nice. You know, there's people watching, but you get the
just
point.
intuitively insightful, right? And there's no doubt about it. And I can tell you that and that's part of the things about understanding energy focus. It's a complex industry. We are a simple company in a complex industry. So as I talk about human-centric lighting, right? It's true that if you go to Home Depot, Walmart today, you buy pretty inexpensive lights, and you cannot tell the differences among brands. You honestly can't. And I can challenge you, you go to Home Depot, Walmart, and you pick up, you know, Philips or GE current, which, you know, is not GE anymore. But
I just want to add this. Not only will I not be able to tell you the difference, if I don't get electrocuted and it works, it's like, okay, I don't have to touch it for 5 years.
You see, that's the thing, you know, people don't have a lot of high expectation on LED, you know. They take it for granted that LED should burn out. If they burn out, oh, that's, you know, that's the industry standard. It's not true. LED, our LED has been there, you know, since 2007 with LED. It was the US Navy in commercial real estate in 2010. Our failure rate is well below 0.1%, right? And that's over 10, 15 year span, right? So we are a proven company that knows quality, and we pride ourselves as a high quality manufacturer. You know, we are the primary supplier to the US Navy, as a lot of people know. And you know, a lot of established healthcare and, you know, institutions. But the biggest story about the lighting industry and why we exist, as I said, was, you know, because the exciting development on lighting by incorporating other technologies. And I know this might not be a perfect example, but you look at iPhone, right? iPhone, when it was introduced in 2007, right? There's no one groundbreaking technology that makes iPhone. It's an integration, amalgamation of exciting technologies that is delivered in a user-friendly interface.
Yes.
That is truly what iPhone still today. And I'm a loyal iPhone user, but, you know, Samsung does the job. I just like the interface. You like the ease of it. You know, I like, you know, how they look at everything with, you know, a great sense of elegance and aesthetics, you know, and very, very intuitive to use. It's not very different. You look at human-centric lighting. Lighting, there's a light that is generated from LED, right? Very efficient and more efficient, right? But we're at the point where the efficiency is towards the end of the road, okay? And I think that's what a lot of people don't know, right? I'll give you an example. Our LED tube burns at 11 watt, replace a fluorescent at 32 watt, okay? You're saving 20 watt, 21 watt out of 32 watts. How many more watts can you save, right? This is why you are seeing the commoditization in the industry, where everybody's pushing down that path. You know, LED, we're using a semiconductor generating light. Now our light is we don't go to the cheap route, competing based on price. So we've been staying there at a high quality, as a high quality manufacturer, and it has been very difficult. I mean, to your point, you know, the company lost focus a few years ago. It's not easy. You know, it drove out the biggest companies, like GE of the world.
But James, you get what you pay for. So the reason why I think Orion did what it did is because the lighting may not be that interesting or that high growth or that dynamic, but there is one thing that you cannot dispute. And that is, if you essentially go to lighting products today, you will save a lot of money. And for a lot of people, being green is very important. And
yes.
then for others, and I want to say that I want to be green, but saving money for me is an even bigger factor. So when you go to your customers and you're like, because you get what you pay for, okay? Yeah, I'm sure that there are products that you have that are distinguished and cost more. But when you tell the guy that light bulb that you have up there is costing you 25 bucks a year, and the light bulb that you're going to use right now will cost you $5 a year or 10 bucks a year, they understand that. So return on investment is one of the key kind of indicators for me.
Absolutely.
can you guys ultimately prove that by installing your systems or by installing your lights, that there will be a meaningful impact to the bottom line, and you are ultimately not wasting resources? Because we're living in 2020 right now, and the next 30 years, you know, and I'm kind of a half empty guy, as you know, the next 30 years don't look very optimistic, you know, in terms of the environment and climate change and all these things. I mean, when you go to customers, what is your value proposition?
Yeah.
Why you guys over the other players? What
Yeah,
makes
I
you
think
come?
if you look at our customers that have been staying with us for the long haul, right? And you know, they were able to use our product, experience it, and they know the differences, right? You look at, you know, like companies like Cleveland Clinic, or, you know, we have a big, you know, Texas-based customer that has done over 100 school districts with us. Those people, they use our product. They obviously look at the market and then saw the cheaper product, but they continue to stay with us. And the reason is that they see the differences, right? Over time, they don't have to worry about the quality. They don't have to worry about the performance. They minimize the maintenance costs. And all these things are there, except a lot of people don't have time to evaluate and experience those quality. What they are seeing is what the distributors sell to them, right? And think about it, lighting is just not a very, it's not a priority. Even for facility managers, it's not a priority, because they've been able to just buy GE, Philips, Osram light over the past 100 years, 50 years, and just swap them, right? LED came along, they try a few different products, not very good, but they keep trying. It just doesn't, it's not an item where they spend a lot of time on, right? And there's a big phenomenon over the past 10 years that happened in our industry that drove this big lamp company out of the market per se, is that when LED came along, it was very expensive. So the first adopters were the new construction projects, right? And the fixture manufacturers like Acuity, right? They were able to incorporate LED, sell at much higher price, make a lot of profit, and they got much bigger. While the lamp company that focused on replacing the lamps, they got competition from Asia. And because customers don't know the differences, as I said, you know, you go to Walmart, you look at the 5 brands, there's no way you know which one is better. You see different prices, it doesn't tell you which one is better.
But you brought up a great point. So you're saying it's the new manufacturing, it's the homes that are being built, it's the warehouses that are being created.
That was the first adopter of LED, right? And so if you stay on the lamp side, it has been a very difficult path. On the other hand, Europe, for example, has started to draft the new regulations banning integrated fixtures. So you got the fixtures that integrate the LED strips into the fixtures, but you cannot replace the light source, right? As opposed to our modular system, where we can replace just the lamps instead of the whole fixture. The full fixture is made of plastic and metals. They last 30, 40 years. For the integrated fixtures to be introduced to the market and get either outdated over 5 to 10 years, or burn out from time to time, it's a waste of material. Well, our estimate, we actually published a white paper, is that it's gonna waste 7 to 50 times more materials over a 10-year period, right? Now, the world is realizing that they're going back to the lamps, which is, we have always been promoting that. That's the most sustainable form of lighting. That's why we call ourselves as a leader in sustainable LED lighting, because we promote the modular system. And the modular system, 5 years back, 10 years back, was not as advanced as the fixtures, because the fixtures, they have a very big space, right? They have the whole space to work on. They can put electronics in there, monitors and everything, like sensors, to make it more advanced feature-wise. But with the introduction of InFocus that we did a few months ago, now the lamps have caught up. The lamps are now so advanced. And because I can just replace the switch and the lamps to give you the controls, the cost for our control system is less than a third to a sixth of the integrated fixtures out there. And
Okay,
you
so
don't have any risk of wireless communication and all that. So my point is that this is why the key for people to understand and focus is that it's not lighting, it's lighting technology. That's probably the biggest difference. Lighting, the lighting technology. And that is almost unlimited potential when it comes to what you can develop on top of lighting. Because you are introducing all these technologies to make it so much more powerful.
Let me see. And look, maybe I'm oversimplifying this, but when you say a third to a sixth, the way I interpret it as someone who was kind of, who took math very seriously because of the father figure, if you will, math was everything.
Right.
A third is 33 cents on the dollar, and a sixth is 16667. So about 17 cents. We'll round up 17 cents on the dollar.
Yeah.
So you're essentially telling me that based off what you guys have created and existing technology, you can essentially go in and give people a savings rate of between depending on the circumstance, of course, but a savings rate of between 67% and 83%. Would
yes,
you say that's
for similar control technologies that provide the flicker-free, dimmable, and color tunable, what we call circadian lighting capability. To provide that, all other alternatives cost that much.
So let me sharpen my pencil. So this is as some investors call low-hanging fruit.
Yes.
How big? So how do you identify this market? One, because think about this, James. If you and I were to walk into a place and say, "Hey, we could save you 80%. You should let us do this," and we can prove it to you, we'd have a hell of a business. That's one. So True. How do you kind of address the market? And then, of course, there is sales, there is marketing, there is manufacturing.
Yes.
What's kind of the approach? Because I kind of want to get into talking about the existing customer base, because there's one company that you have that, in my opinion, is the best retailer in the world. I think people can kind of figure out what that is. But how do you essentially go about? Because it's hard to walk into a warehouse and say, "Yeah, you guys are overpaying for your lighting." Yeah. You know, I have a solution. So kind of walk us to what the process is that you guys, the work that you do, you know, giving quotes.
So first of all, you have to understand that in focus, as I said, the commoditization route is the dead end. Okay. The dead end, not only because of competition, but also just on the energy efficiency side, it's going towards the maximum energy efficiency, right? To have saved already 20 watt out of 32 watt, you save another 2-3 watt is marginal, right? The opportunities are not there. The opportunities are, yes, we can save a lot of energy, and we can provide all these functions that are much more powerful, right, than what you have realized financially from energy savings. So there's a rule, and that shows in our presentation we use by JLL, which is one of the largest property managers in the world, 3, 30, and 300 rule. And 3 means that in North America, a building typically costs about $3 per square foot on energy spent on an annual basis. $30 on rent. Obviously, that depends on where you are now. Today, some rents are dropping very quick. $300 on personnel. That's how organizations spend, right? The $3 is on the energy side, right? And that's lighting address about 20% of that, because lighting is usually about 20% of buildings' energy spent, right? So that's 60 cents. We're addressing a 60 cents opportunity per square foot. Why I talk about human-centric lighting by bringing all the technology into lighting is to address that $300. If you can improve productivity by 1%, that's $3.
Right.
$3 is all your energy spent, right? So suddenly you see a very different equation. What if I can improve 20% of productivity, right? That's what studies have shown. That's $60 per square foot, right? And if you look at when we launch in Focus, and you say that, okay, that's pretty dramatic, right? Circadian lighting, by adjusting lumens, by adjusting color temperature, can make you so much more productive and also improve your sleep during the night. Because if you are more successful in suppressing your melatonin during the day, you sleep better at night, Okay, so it's improvement of overall health and well-being. That's exciting. But why is it not in your office? Because it's too expensive to introduce systems like that in the past. InFocus changed all that. Now you can go in, you replace the switch, you replace the lamp. You don't even touch the fixture. There's no wireless protocol you need to introduce because we leverage on the existing AC power line to conduct digital communication. Now, once I can do that, then I've established a control, right? Now I can make the lamps more and more advanced, more versatile with the same control system that I don't have to get a designer to the space. I don't have to go through system integrators. I don't have to deal with multiple companies. I mean, before InFocus, to get a control, lighting control into your package, into your building, you have to work with lighting companies,
Yes,
controls companies, because they're separate companies, system integrators, right? And then Orion comes in to do that, right? This Orion built a good business by being the system integrator. They really, if you look at their product, they don't develop the technology on their own. They just bring, say, Home Depot, these solutions, right? The integrators, that's their business.
So let's talk about how much plug and play is this, okay?
It is plug and play.
So it's like, is it one of these things where you can come in and install everything within a 6 to 8 hour basis? Because you know, like, listen, man, I can only speak for myself. As an Asian man, if it's not broke, you don't need to fix it, which is why I still have the same.
I'm more Asian than you are, so.
Oh, right, yeah. So I'm more West, but the premise is the same. I have the same Samsung TV from 2006.
Yeah.
When I know there's 4K, when I know there's OLED, when I know that there's 3-dimension and holographic and all that BS. So what do you think that one catalyst is where you can go in and say, you may argue all these other points, but you cannot argue this? Is it the cost savings? Is it the integration? Is it the productivity? Because productivity is hard to prove too, James.
Yes.
I mean, you can't tell. Go ahead, please.
True. This is a very good question. So if you look at the first opportunity, major opportunity we got from Texas, it's a state commission, right? They are retrofitting their 4 million square feet space, and they adopt InFocus for the dimming capability. No color tuning yet. So color tuning, people don't even know what that means. You go to office, there's no office with color tuning capability, very few in the world. People don't even know what that means. But when we start putting into our own employees' offices, our customers' offices, they immediately feel the difference, right? When you can start, and they all get the color temperature higher, lumens higher when they are working, because it makes you feel more alert, more focused, okay? This is a completely new phenomenon, and people would be experiencing it, and they would love it, and they would not go back to the original, the mundane lighting, just lighting, right? Again, that's the first, that's, if you use LED light, you are in the second age, right? We're in the third age. So yeah, it does take time for people to experience that, but immediately there are a lot of facilities that they want just simply dimming, right? Even if you want a dimming capability, you don't have that cheaper alternative right now.
Well, James, let's talk about, I mean, it's hard to visualize this naturally, but think about the newer planes. Think about the more expensive cars. Think about, the newer nightclubs, which I don't have any experience in, okay, because I still button up my shirt to the top.
During the COVID-19 period.
but when you experience these things, when I go into a plane that has, the lighting mechanism where it dims, I always feel it's easier to sleep. Okay.
Of course. Dimming capability is that goes back to how do you see this being adopted, right? I see the first stage will be dimming, right? Where people already know dimming is something that people have experienced. Tuning is something that very few people have truly experienced. You might be able to buy those color changing light bulbs from Home Depot and you play at home. That's for entertainment. We're talking about impacting people when they spend 8 hours in the office, in the schools, in hospitals. That lighting with the circadian lighting truly impact their performance. You're talking about that could impact patient recovery, sleep, productivity. Yeah. Those are big big impact, right? Now, it will take time for people to experience that. And based on our experience in the past few months, when we talk to distributors, customers, they immediately get it because they have always been looking for control capability for existing buildings. And there's no such a elegant and simple technology, and now it's available. Now, I do have to say that it's probably the worst period of time to launch a new lighting product because facilities are empty. Right? Most facilities they are thinking about safety, disinfection. They're not thinking about upgrading their lighting today, right? A lot of projects are being put off and things like that. Is, we see the market. I mean, you look at occupancy rate for New York City is below 10%, right?
Yes.
And most facilities are still empty. Schools are half open and things like that. This is not the time for people to go aggressive about upgrading their lighting, which again is why since the beginning of the year, we've been developing a UV solution portfolio, which we'll be announcing soon. And because we got to get people back to work, get people back to facilities first. And that leverage, again, that's part of the human-centric lighting, right? How do you make lighting? UV, you cannot see it, but UV is part of the lighting spectrum. You just cannot see it,
James, I wanted to, we will, that's the last thing that I wanted to talk about, but it was that one customer. So sometimes when it comes to assessing microcap companies, you look for a customer base and you kind of look for the bellwethers, the companies that are like, that are discerning customers that do a lot of traffic. And of course, when I go to your website and I take a look, it says customers that we serve, obviously the Cleveland Clinic, which is one of the most renowned medical institutions in the world. Dick's Sporting Goods, where I used to buy my discounted golf balls because I wasn't very good. And
it's the best sporting goods.
Yeah, that's where I would get my really cheap 50-cent Top Flight golf balls, obviously Mayo. But the one that really stands out to me, obviously, is Costco. And for anyone who has ever been a part of Costco, I mean, there's a lot to dislike. And yes, it's kind of the, a monstrosity. But there is no retailer, in my opinion, that operates as well and as efficiently as they do.
Agree, 100%.
And I've had the pleasure of meeting Jim Sinegal, the former CEO, many, many times. Thank you, Michael Moe at Think Equity, brother, appreciate it. But it's how did you guys nab Costco? How long has it been a relationship? Have you had a relationship with them? And then what do you exactly do? Because to the untrained eye, when I go to Costco, I'm just hoping to God that no one clips me with their cart, okay? Or, the line is not 45 people deep. I've never been like, yes. I wonder if Energy Focus provides these.
Right. Actually, I would love to do more with Costco, right? But they use our light in their back of the house. You don't even see it. You'll see, because if you look at the Costco lighting, they have this dome shape light. We don't provide products like that. That's a specialty product with the dome shape fixture. What we did was their back of a house where they have a lot of fluorescent. That's what we focus on, right? If you look at and they're a great customer. There's no doubt about it, great operation. If you look at what we target, it's the most mundane lighting that we replace, which is fluorescent. But fluorescent is literally 70–80% of the lighting for most buildings, institutional buildings. And that's where you make the biggest impact, including human-centered lighting, because you want to impact where people are. There are specialty retailers, Costco, being one of them, but you go to, say, Starbucks, right? I mean, the lighting they have yellowish, more exotic, aesthetic, designed fixture. That's usually not our main market. Our market is where people stay in the same place for a long time, because that's where you make the impact.
Right on.
And that's human-centered lighting, right? If you are in the office for 8 hours and the lighting is making you more productive, more alert, suppress your melatonin, make you sleep better at night, that's where the impact is being created. And along that line, so we focus on lighting where where we can make an impact because of the hours of operation, because the people staying under that light is long. And you look at that fluorescent light is what we replace. And going back to like the beginning of the story, right? Why does energy focus even exist? What's the opportunity here? There are a billion these 2x2, 2x4 fluorescent fixtures in the United States. There are about 5 billion worldwide, right? So we're talking about tens of billions of dollars, even hundreds of billions of dollars just on replacing those lights, upgrading those lights to be human-centric lighting. And we are clearly going to be a leader on that, in that space. Now, again, this is not a period of time when people are really aggressively operating their lighting. So again, that goes back to why we want to make sure when it comes to human-centric lighting, that's our mission. How do we make people better, right? Feel better in the buildings. And that's why UV products are important, because you got to bring people back first,
So
and that
Oh no,
that
Jay.
to me is a big part of human-centric lighting in today's time.
And I want to tell everyone who's like, I'm still not convinced, why don't you go into a dressing room of a store, at least a high-end store, and see what type of lighting they have? You always look more slender and more muscular. The same thing is true for gyms. Because when I go in the gym, I'm like, man, I look good. And then when I come outside at the house, I'm like, damn, I look like shit. And it's mostly probably because of the lighting.
Lighting is a big part of it, right?
So let's kind of go, because I want to say we have about 4 minutes, because I want to do some Q&A as well.
Sure.
And for everyone who is shy, I just want to give you a little bit of knowledge. So a few years back, I won't tell people what year, we did a study at LD where we were trying to figure out questioning at conferences. So what we learned is about 1/4 of the presentations that we had did not have any questions. Okay. 1/4, James. And I was like, we got to get this number down to 0. So what we did is that one year we basically brought in people and we said, hey, they're former analysts, buy-side investors, private investors. I said, can you ask questions for the entire duration? What happened is we found out something interesting. There is a 91% chance of a second question being asked if a first question gets asked. Okay. And then there's about an 80% chance if there's a third question. So the moral of the story is no one wants to be first. But I haven't checked my email, you guys. You could use the chat function down below, or you can email me at chris@ldmicro.com for if anyone has any questions, because I'm sure there are tons. But going back, James, obviously UV lighting, COVID, this horrible thing that no one can see, where there are people that can spend the day as if nothing has happened, and then there are people who die from it. I err on the side of caution in the sense that any preventative measure that can easily be deployed should be a measure that gets used with common sense. And then there's a lot of talk about UV lighting. I mean, this is huge. From my understanding, this is a kind of a new. Is it something that you've had within the organization that you're now using for this application, or kind of what's the story behind UV? Where you feel that you can make the biggest impact early on, and how big of a business do you think it can ultimately be? Because whether COVID goes away or not, everyone's going to be looking out for the next infectious disease. So I almost feel that there's going to be a part of us that there will be some people that never shake hands again. Okay. And I guess I'm cool with it, but
I haven't been shaking hands for I don't know how many months.
well, look, I mean, think about Japanese culture, where you're basically like this and you come down. I think it's just as glamorous.
That's actually nice. Yeah. Untitled.
But this is, so people look at this and they're like, oh, well, Energy Focus is just playing off this COVID thing, because everyone now has, even Chuck E. Cheese has a COVID plan.
Sure.
Okay. Chuck E. Cheese's COVID plan is 4 cheese pizzas for $20, which is a hell of a plan. And it's actually not that bad.
Yes.
But what's kind of your mindset behind this? Tell us some more.
Okay. The true story. Okay. We developed the InFocus control system in the beginning of the year. We're almost done with the technology development. We launched it in May, June, right? And in the beginning of the year, we were pretty much done on the technology itself. And COVID-19 hit. And being an Asian, I'm from Taiwan, we had a first-hand experience of what's going on there, right? At that time, I think it caught people off guard, right? And countries shut down and all that. And immediately we thought about incorporating UV. Now, did we develop UV before? No, but UV is a lighting technology. We know lighting. That's what we know. We know lighting very well. It's the same thing we deal with, right? So what we like to do is, again, how do we incorporate lighting that we already know very well into our product portfolio, or create some new products where our customer, again, we're focusing on our customer, which is the facility managers, these institutional buildings where lighting make impact, right? And we start developing, the first UV products. Again, we're gonna be announcing this pretty soon, and it will be a portfolio, right? But the first product we develop is that I have talked about is really in focus, because we just developed in focus. So how do we actually use this control system that we just developed that's very easily deployable in buildings and bring the UV to it, right? So we developed this product that again we'll be launching soon, that is integrating our flicker-free dimmable color tunable light and UV disinfection. So there's a fan built inside the UV component that draw the air and disinfect the air, 99.9% of the air. And you don't have to specify this product to go through a lengthy process. Where do I put it and all that? You put it in your ceiling because you already have that hole. Now, by doing that, you upgrade your lighting to the highest quality of lighting you could get today in the market, plus UV disinfection capability, right? Now, that's one product that we do it immediately. And then we come up with a few more products because we think about, like, if we can take care of this, what else do we have to do to make the space clean? So we actually have a portfolio strategy. It's not a one-off product. My hope and our plan is to make a UV portfolio into a very significant part of our business. And again, this is a completely new market. UV has been proven. I'm talking about UVC. As you know, there are UVA, UVB, UVC. UVC is the only spectrum that's proven to be effective, immediately effective in destroying the viruses, deactivating the viruses. It basically breaks the RNA and DNA bonds and make it unable to replicate, right? Essentially kill it. And we believe that this is a whole new market. It's if you look at the products we compete with, they were all developed before COVID-19. The benefit about L-Niche Focus is that we're a small organization. We're so focused on human-centered lighting. We're so focused on our customers. We move very, very fast, and we don't have the lighting baggage, and we incorporate whatever technology we can incorporate to make the system deliver the results, right? And so I think in the matter of the next few weeks, we'll hear more about this product.
My advice to you, James, is that whatever you guys decide to do on the UV side, make sure that you have a video, okay? Just kind of going through the basics of the technology, because I want what President Putin has at his royal palace, that tunnel where you basically go in and you just get sprayed left and right. But I can't afford that.
Make sure you'll survive, though.
Right. Well, yeah, they're right. You do have the KGB to worry about too. But the take is, again, if it is actionable,
right,
if it is something that doesn't really impact what we have right now, I see it becoming a very, very popular product.
And you actually touched something very important. How do we make it affordable, right? I mean, you probably heard that the Carolina Panthers, they just bought 2 UV blaster machine, like robots, and each one costs $125,000. Now Carolina Panthers can afford it. Most schools can't.
David Tepper.
Right. So the key is that how do we introduce technologies just like in Focus? At the fraction of the cost, highest quality. That is how we develop everything. And I can tell you that, Chris, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. There's a lot of COVID-19 overhanging, sort of people taking advantage of COVID-19 and launching everything into it. I think to us, it's actually very relevant because UV is truly the most effective way, UVC, to destroy the virus without having these chemicals that are actually harmful to people over time. You know, if you spray all these chemicals to kill the virus, you kill, you know, you are impacted too. It's really not very sustainable either.
Yeah.
So
Well, no one is.
we're actually running on this very unique technology, and this proven. The key is, again, going back to how we come out with in focus. We leverage on the electronics, software, and all the technologies to produce something that are very impactful, right? And there happens to be a new market. You know, how big is that UV market? I don't know. I know every facility will have some kind of demand. If we can make it affordable for people to actually buy into it, make it, to your point, where's the next pandemic, right? I believe that there's a huge opportunity where we can vastly elevate the hygiene and sanitation of facilities that not only will minimize the chance of infections of these, you know, deadly viruses, but also typical influenza, right? Other type of infectious diseases,
which is still a terrible killer, you know?
Yeah. I mean, if you look at the latest statistics, I mean, the death rates for the COVID-19 is getting very close to influenza, right? So, you know, I mean, flus kill people every year, you know? And so we can actually make the facilities safer, not only on COVID-19, but also on other infectious diseases. It actually make people healthier, right? Again, that goes back to human-centric lighting.
So I want to say, for any cynics out there, any company, any organization that is physically located in a cold area where you have to be inside for most of the time would probably benefit from this technology. Mr. Tu, we have a bunch of questions, and I want to say we have about 6 or 7 minutes before a tow truck basically comes here. I know people think like Chris is just BSing. There's actually a tow truck coming. So for anyone who has ever bought a hydrogen-powered car, don't. Okay. Okay. Now let's go. So Steve, thank you for the question. And we answered this already. With the pandemic on everyone's mind, UV lighting has become a relatively hot topic. True. Do you have any plans to get more involved in UV lighting? Obviously we do. And I think it could be maybe not a huge business in the upstart, but definitely something that will be a category on its own in the years to come.
Yes.
Okay. And then, this is a good question. Thank you, Ethan. What happened between Mr. Tu's first stint as CEO of Energy Focus and his return as CEO? And then kind of your Jobsian moment there, my brother. And then why does he think that Energy Focus is on a sustainable growth path now? Thank you for taking my question. Please.
Sure. The first time I was here, I was between 2013 and 2016. I left in early 2017. There was a disagreement at that time with me and the board at that time, and we reached a mutual agreement. I left, and long story short, they have a different way of going to the market. At that time, LED lighting was still pretty early. I don't believe that the channel partners will be effective in conveying our value proposition. We grew our sales between 13 and 16, like, almost 20 times. You look at the business that we had, right? Based on the Navy business and the commercial business. When the Navy business came down in 2016, it's a pretty dramatic impact on our sales. And the board at that time thought that we need to pivot, right? But I don't think that we need to pivot. I think we need to cut costs, and we need to go through that period and continue to promote the brand, awareness, and go to the biggest, influencers in the industry. We already got like Cleveland Clinic, Mayo Clinic. These are very, very influential customers. We could have gotten a lot more hospitals, right? So anyway, I left the company for about 2 years, and the company didn't perform well. I still own some stock. My investors own some stock. So we came back. I did basically almost the same thing I did the first time when I came into the company. I restructured the whole management team. I replaced all the executives, replaced the whole board. And why am I excited? Listen to the first 25 minutes of our discussion, because human-centric is exciting. And why do we have a sustainable advantage? I can tell you that it's that the is that the culture we're building here in this company is very innovative, right? We don't have the baggage of traditional lighting companies, as Philips, GE, they all have. They have a massive infrastructure they need to feed based on traditional lighting plus LED lighting, and then human-centric lighting. Think about the speed of innovation on human-centric lighting. When you leverage software, cloud, sensors, hardware, they are changing so fast. I heard the other day there's a new law in AI, right? AI is doubling every year. Moore's law is doubling transistors, right? On a chip, but every 18 to 24 months, it has slowed down over the past few years. But you're talking about AI, that's doubling every year. If we incorporate those capabilities into a lighting system that make buildings smarter, healthier, better, more productive, there's a huge opportunity there because people spend 90% of their time indoor. It's a huge market if you can move fast. And the good thing about Energy Focus is that we have established a history of reliability and quality, right? We are not like some upstart that come out of nowhere, that come up with InFocus, right? Why do I need to trust InFocus to put into my building? This is why we could get opportunities from Texas State Commission immediately after we launched this, because it's from Energy Focus. It is the company that supplied to U.S. Navy, the most mission critical facility in the world, right? All the surface ships have our lights, right? Even today, right? And so if we can have that history and then the innovative culture that is pursuing lighting technology, not lighting, but lighting technology, the opportunities are immense. And yeah, I always said that if there were no Energy Focus, there would be somebody like Energy Focus that will be leading the industry to the next age. And we want to be one of them. We want to be the company that actually continues to innovate and bring impacts. To me, in the end of the day, is how many problems can you solve, right? And the seriousness of the problems. That's how you create value. And UV is a great example, right? InFocus, by introducing circadian lighting, that's a great opportunity. Improve productivity, improve sleep. How many people have enough sleep, right?
Definitely not me. And last night,
I know. You don't sleep. I know.
3.5 hours.
You don't need sleep. Right.
James, so we still have about 5 or 6 questions. So let's allocate about 30 to 45 seconds on each.
Okay.
This is from private. Can you address capacity once orders start to come in? How will you supply those orders?
We have a very well-established supply chain in Asia. Here we have manufacturing capacity for assembly. So I wouldn't be too concerned about capacity. We do, because of COVID-19, there are some logistics challenges in terms of time for component delivery. I see sometimes that happens, that happens a lot over the past 6 months. And but in terms of capacity, remember we're building these lighting systems, right? Even if they are technology advanced, they're not very different from, say, a laptop, right? You look at the components that's needed, right? Electronics, capacitors, semiconductors, they're pretty much similar. There's no exotic component in these products. So I don't see capacity constraint over the long term. If we get a huge amount of order, obviously on a short-term basis, I think that's a good problem to have, but I don't see that being a permanent problem.
Awesome. Curtis, good morning. Thank you again for joining us. Do you plan to raise any additional capital? If so, what is the minimum amount that you need in order to grow the company?
Yeah, we have just expanded our credit facility, so it's sufficient for us to launch new products and get to the next stage. If the stock price perform really well, at some point we're a public traded company, like any company, we could raise capital. There's no sort of specific target we have to raise. Right now we have the cash to run the business. I think in the next few months, they're gonna be catalysts for the company to, especially as we introduce the UV products. Depends on the market perception and reception. There could be good opportunity that we could strengthen our balance sheet.
Last two, indoor air quality specialists indicate that current UVC lighting does not remove pathogens from the air, only surfaces after long contact times. How will EFOI meet these contact time requirements for sterilization and prove that it works? and are academic institutions involved? Great questions, Paul. Thank you for asking them.
Sure. The UVC has been proven, is a proven science since the 1930s. It does kill the pathogens. Now, it kills pathogen based on three major factors. The power of the light, right? How much power of the UVC you are shedding on the pathogens, and the duration and the distance between the light and the pathogen, right? So you have to consider these major factors in designing the system to be effective. Now, we can, because it's such an established science that we can run simulations, we know that this will be effective. Then we will be sending our production samples to UL and other agencies, third-party labs, to test and to have the certification on the effectiveness of these units. So they will be certified, tested by third-party labs.
And then finally, Steve, thank you for asking this because, and let me tell you, Steve, I'm first in line. I get preferential treatment. Will UV lighting be available for residential use? So James, I want mine in this bedroom as well as the bathroom that's right here.
You will hear about it pretty soon once we launch it.
Got it. Okay, so that is a possibility.
Yes.
For anyone, listen, I apologize to everyone because this was more of a fireside chat than a formal presentation. I did not get access to my email, but I know that you guys are in great hands on the IR front. So what I'll do is I'll forward all questions that I didn't get to. James, it is always an honor. Again, it's very hard to be able to talk to someone for 57 minutes and have it feel like 57 seconds.
It's because of Chris, not because of James.
Yeah, right. No, exactly.
Right.
You and I, if we sat on a plane together, would piss off everyone in the front row as well as the back row. So with that, it was an absolute pleasure. Where can people find out more information? Is it energyfocus.com?
Yeah, energyfocus.com. We actually just have an updated investor website, so it's pretty transparent, and I hope you like it. Yeah, you'll learn a lot more. And also the other thing is that I want to say we've been very transparent, very upfront in talking about our story. So I encourage you to read our press releases and filings. You'll learn a lot about the company.
Respect. James, I will see you on the other side. Thank you again. And thank you for all those who are tuning in. Have a great day. I'll be in touch.
Thank you very much. Have a great day, everyone. Thanks, Chris.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.